Hi, this is Eric Metcalf, and you're watching the Unhappy Hour.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Brian.
How you doing? We are on the air. We are
Good.
broadcasting on Facebook and recording the show for YouTube later, man. I'm doing great. How was your Christmas?
It was great. Like I texted you, I'm on Christmas about 22 here. I'm over at my grandfather's, the kid's great-grandfather's house. So, it never stops anymore.
Yeah, you reach a
divorced
point.
family with multiple kids on both sides. You end up doing a whole lot of Christmas, which is great.
Yeah, you reach a point and you just go, I'm at somebody's house and they're serving food. I think it's a good thing and I'm welcome here. And you just stop asking questions at that.
That's right.
'Tis the
season.
season.
You got football on in the background. You got food. You got presents coming out. You just got to make sure that you've got some sort of a present to give somebody at some point. Then you're all golden.
Yeah, and I find when you're an adult having a bottle of, Hendrix or Jack Daniel, like you can never go wrong with a nice bottle of wine. Just say, here you go. Between now and New Year's, just take a moment for yourself.
Well, anymore, you always have a couple of those extras somewhere. Because there's going to be somebody that comes out of the woodwork and says, hey, here's a present, who's never given you a present before. And then, bam, you've got it right there. You're like, oh, there you go. I was just thinking of you the other day. I saw this bottle of Merlot, and I was thinking of you. Even though you had no clue. You just happened to have it in your car.
Absolutely, yeah. We have a closet, and it has a little bit of kind of one of everything. But maybe that's the bartender in me. I don't know. I've always been around drinks and bars and restaurants my whole life, and it's just that's the time of year this is for celebrating, for food, for drinks, for laughs, for family, for good times. And here we are, Chris McNeil. You are on our radar at the Unhappy Hour, named after bartending, by the way. But you are on our radar as reflog_18 on Twitter, and we've reached out to you over the past couple of years, and you've jumped on graciously over the past few years as one of the funniest people on Twitter. So I will say, if you're not following Chris McNeil on Twitter, he's at reflog_18. It's basically golfer backwards, reflog_18. You're going to laugh. It's not all sports. It's a lot of sports. Not all sports, but it's hilarious. But we're talking about food and good times and drinks, and we got to jump right into it. This perfect season parade. Are you serious? Am I really going to have to fly across the country for this thing, Chris? Do you think it's going to happen?
It's looking that way, isn't it? I just got off the phone here earlier with the city of Cleveland, and we're in the mode now where we're really coming into the advanced stages of planning this thing. It's come down to, okay, what's the exact number of participants that are going to be in this thing? How many people are we really expecting? What's the exact number of security personnel we're going to need to have on the ground? And, all of the final details and the final touches of this thing are being set into motion. So, yeah, absolutely. The city and I are both fairly confident at this point that this thing's going to come off and that we're going to have a parade, meaning the Browns, of course, are going to lose on Sunday.
Yeah, I said unless Omar Epps literally sits every one of his starters, I don't know how we're going to get this win to avoid it. I mean, it took a Christmas miracle last year to avoid the perfect season parade. We've seen sillier things happen. It seems like the Browns usually save one totally random win over the Patriots or the Saints, a playoff team out of nowhere. But this is something different. This kind of is, does it feel unprecedented to you as well?
Oh, absolutely. And first of all, I have to pause here. The Omar Epps drop is very well done. I am a huge fan of House from back in the day, and I cannot look at the head coach of the Steelers without thinking of that show and Omar Epps every single time. That is well played. You were absolutely right there.
Yeah, we ran into 13. What's her name? Olivia something.
I don't know her name, but
13.
I would like to know her name.
Yeah, we ran into 13 at a bar in Malibu a couple of years ago. It was kind of funny, but yeah, dude totally looks like Omar Epps, and you're hearing rumors that maybe they'll rest Big Ben, maybe they'll rest some of their old veteran team, and maybe that'll help us. I don't know. I don't know if we stand a chance. I mean, I get the feeling that our team isn't this bad.
Year, right? Going into the last couple of games last year, we had the Chargers, where I thought, okay, the Chargers are going across the country. We might be able to beat them. And then I thought as my fallback, boy, we play the Steelers the last game of the year. They're not going to be playing for anything. They're going to be resting their starters. Now, if you recall last year, we, of course, beat the Chargers. But then that fallback game, we got crushed. We got boat raced by their backups, didn't even show up. So I am hoping that this year it's completely different, obviously. I hope the Browns win, first of all, for those of you who don't know. Even though I'm putting on this parade, I hope for the Browns to win on Sunday and beat the Steelers. And in the process, give a nice donation to the Cleveland Food Bank. But I'll tell you what, that game from last year gives me a whole lot of pause as we come into this thing this weekend, even if they don't play Big Ben, even if they aren't playing Bell, even if they don't play any of their starters, essentially, just throw out a JV team. I still have pause going into that game thinking, boy, I don't know. They're still going to be favored by double digits, I bet, when it kicks off.
Yeah. And well, the weather might be the great equalizer. When the weather's really filthy, what are they saying, 13 degrees? 15 degrees, something putrid, right?
Is that what it's looking like right now? I'll tell you what, it's cold over here in the Cleveland area.
Yeah, I heard 5 degrees.
Sure it's not that much warmer over there. It's about 7 degrees here.
Yeah, I mean, we did barely have to turn on the heater a couple of days ago when it hits really cold.
Okay, that's enough of that, all right? That's enough of that.
It drops deep.
All right, I'm looking at 17 degrees as a high over here. We're getting around 0 here at night, so you could just keep that. Hey, we had to turn on a heater for a second thing.
Hey, ours drops deep into the 50s for a couple of minutes right there around 3 in the morning. Really deep into the 50s.
Don't know how you guys do it out there.
I know it's pretty brutal, but the parade. I've been having this conversation about the parade, and one of my reactions is, come on, guys, it's a protest. It's not a parade. Obviously, it is a parade because it's like I said before, it's the wrench from Good Will Hunting. We're picking the wrench. Why? Because screw them. We're going to have a mock parade to tell you how upset we are. Is it fair to call this a protest, and the people that are upset about it, they're not really understanding it, or is it a parade and we are just making a big joke out of it? In your words, how do you combine those two?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a protest. And going into last year, I think it started obviously on Twitter, right? It started with just a stupid joke. There in Cleveland, we had just come off last calendar year, the Cleveland Cavaliers winning it all, right? And we had a legitimate parade downtown. And then you spin it forward to the fall, and you've got the Cleveland Browns just week in, week out, just giving us disappointment after disappointment. And I, tongue-in-cheek, put it out there on Twitter, this team deserves a parade, right? And that's where it all started, because people started jumping on that, saying, oh, yeah, we could have a float for all 27 starting quarterbacks we've had since we came back in 99. We could have Johnny Manziel as the parade marshal. All these ideas came out, and then somebody said, hey, listen, for $25 and some paperwork, you can actually have this parade. So that's where it all started. So originally, people kind of got it. Because it was a smaller circle of folks who were in on the joke that, hey, we're obviously not celebrating this team. This was completely tongue-in-cheek. And in all actuality, we're protesting what's going on in Cleveland. We expect better. But then what's happened is, as it's gotten bigger and more people have learned about this parade, there have been an awful lot who say, what are they doing? Are they celebrating losing? So I've had to be way more upfront with folks and not be as reserved about calling it a protest, because they need to know that we're not out there actually celebrating 0-16. That's an ironic kind of 2017, 2018 social media way of having a protest, which is exactly what it is. We want better in Cleveland. We deserve a better team. But at the same time, we've also got a sense of humor. Even though we've been beaten down by years from this team, we can still turn around and give it back to the team, but do it in kind of a creative way. And that's the way I think about it. And I think most people get that. But, of course, diehards, get off your lawn, guy. That's awful tough to get across. But, at the end of the day, we're trying to have some fun and get our point across to the front office, and hopefully make a nice donation to the Cleveland Food Bank.
Yeah, walk me through that real quick. How did it play out last year with the donation, and what are we looking at this year? And of course, this year, I want you to discuss what Excedrin did.
Yeah. So last year, I set up a GoFundMe for this parade, and costs are estimated at about $10,000. And that's what we ended up raising last year, was $10,000. Now, after the Browns won on Christmas Eve against the Chargers, all that money we donated to the Cleveland Food Bank. And upon hearing about that, and this is where I give the Cleveland Browns a lot of credit, they heard about that, and the next day they pledged another $10,000. And then our defensive coordinator, this is one moment that just completely floored me. When he got up for his news conference after that game, he said, "Hey, I heard about this parade you guys were going to have. I'll pledge another $5,000. So we had $25,000 there, and then a local radio host pledged another 25. So we ended up raising 50 grand for the Cleveland Food Bank as a result of the Browns winning one game last year, which is really funny. Kind of blows your mind, right? They won one game. We donated $50K to the food bank. This year, set up the GoFundMe once again about a month and a half ago. We had about $2,000 in there. And then I got a call from a marketing firm out of Boston. And they said, "Hey, we've heard about this parade idea. We think we've got a client that would be perfect for you." And I said, "Well, okay." They said, "Well, they had a few questions about the parade that I answered." They said, "Well, we'll get back to you the next day." And they did. And they said, "Well, it's a headache relief company. It's Excedrin." And the tagline, obviously, you guys go through headaches every single Sunday with the Cleveland Browns. They want to relieve that, and they want to give you guys $8 grand to make it to that $10,000 number for your GoFundMe, so you guys could have a parade or donate it to the food bank. So that's where they came on board. A funny kind of side note to that story, that was the week we played the Packers. Now, keep in mind, this ad firm is out of Boston, and they're all Patriots fans. So they said, "Hey, we see it on paper. Your Browns are probably going to beat the Packers." I said, "Okay, if you guys really think so." They said, "Yeah, we want to get in. We want to get a press release out. We want to get this thing mobilized before the weekend because you guys are going to beat the Packers." I said, "Okay, well, that's fine. Let's go ahead and do it." And so they did. They wanted to get their name attached to it. And then sure enough, for those of you who don't know, we were up on the Packers by 2 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter and ended up blowing it in overtime. And that's, to any Browns fan, that's like, okay, par for the course. You kind of see it coming. Unfortunately, not as a sense of pride, but that's just the way it is. And that following Monday, this ad firm calls me up and they go, "What the heck happened? You guys were up by 2 touchdowns. We were all cashing in saying, okay, that's going to go to the food bank. And then how'd you guys lose that ball game?" And I said, "You guys are used to watching the Patriots." I said, "Welcome to Cleveland." That happens every single week. Not in that form necessarily, but there's something that happens. We end up losing in just the most unimaginable ways every single weekend. So that is why this is so perfect that you guys are a part of this, because we get headaches from this team just in the most insane ways, and you guys just saw that. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. But thanks to Excedrin once again for doing that. But if the Browns do end up winning, we are going to donate all that money to the Cleveland Food Bank.
Yeah, and the Patriots fans, you have Bill Belichick. He used to be our coach. And then he left, and then our team left, and then the Ravens won Super Bowls, and the Patriots have won like 1,000 Super Bowls since they all left Cleveland. That's what we're used to. We do. We snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't know whether it's the drive, the fumble, Red Right 88, Bottlegate, Dwayne Rudd blowing the 2-touchdown lead against the Packers. We find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory over and over and over again. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I thought we had that game in the bag too. And for some reason, I still watch the games, and for some reason, I still yell at the TV. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's a genetic illness. I was born this way. It's hereditary, nature versus nurture. I don't know what it is, but I still get disappointed and surprised at Deshaun Kaiser interceptions and Myles Garrett touchdowns returned and brought back because Carl Nassib was offside. It's like we invent so many weird ways to lose. So walk me through, how does this work now? Like you said, if the money raised has to go to the parade, it goes to the parade, and you're saying there's roughly $10K in expenses for security and porta potties and all of those ancillary things?
Yeah, you got it. So the biggest expenses that we're going to have are, number one, security, and that's going to run, I was just talking to the security guys today, anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 right now. And that's dependent upon a couple of things. I'll talk about that in a second. We've got porta potties. That'll be about another $1,000, and then another couple of $1,000 for insurance. So if you're adding that up, I'm looking at a figure around $8,000. So
Okay.
anything above that number, we're going to still give to the Cleveland Food Bank. So anybody who's interested in giving and going onto our GoFundMe on brownsparade.com, you can do that. If you give money, right now it looks like all of that extra money is going to be overages that would go to the food bank. So, I'm of the mindset I'm trying to keep costs low. Obviously, we're just basically setting it up, giving the infrastructure to have a parade. It's not like we're building floats with this money. That's what other people are doing who are entrants in this thing. So it's essentially the security, porta potties, licenses, fees, insurance, that sort of thing that money's going to go to. And like I said, any overages is going to go to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank.
And where are we at
and
right
back
now?
to what I was saying with security,
Mm-hmm.
the only reason that I wouldn't be cutting checks necessarily to the food bank yet is if we have any kind of big changes to security, i.e., we had Machine Gun Kelly. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him out there.
Yeah.
Rapper, kind of big in the Cleveland area. He's from Cleveland. He went on a radio show last week and said he wants to play the parade. So if he ends up playing the parade, then we're talking about a completely different ball game. That's definitely a game changer next week. So
Now,
we'll see what happens.
I was at
I literally have nothing behind the scenes that I know of outside of that's actively in the works, and people are talking right now to make that happen. But I'm not included in those conversations right now, and that would certainly be a big game changer.
Well, I was at the parade for the Cavaliers, and I watched.
Yeah.
I believe it was MGK climb.
He was there.
Climb over the light switch. It was the red light, green traffic lights. He had to climb over it and kind of got caught on it and kind of tripped as the vehicle was. Yeah, I recall him being there and loving that moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Drew Carey showed up. Let me ask you this. Do I really have a chance to grab the microphone and say a couple words? Because if so, I really do have to fly back for this, Chris.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be more of a bullhorn than a microphone, but sure.
Bullhorn is
right
great.
Now, the only speakers at the beginning, we have Mike Polk who'll be up there. I may say a word or two. I'm really trying to keep a hands-off, behind-the-scenes type of approach, just kind of getting things set up and getting people out. So, yeah, you're more than welcome to come out for that.
It's just we laugh about it for so much of the season, and then when it starts getting close, you go, oh, crap, do I really have to do this thing? Is this really going to be a thing? Yeah, if MGK plays, that's going to be at the parade itself, and then he's going to draw, a few thousand people, we're thinking? Because that's going to totally change everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the talk was that he would play somewhere at the parade. And, I don't think when he brought it up on the radio, he was exactly thinking through logistics of this thing, him or his people. So we will see what that ends up looking like, whether he's on the back of a float playing as he goes, or whether he wants some sort of a stage. And if that all happens, then that's gonna change my planning pretty significantly. So we'll see.
Yeah,
and it may be nothing. Who knows? He could wake up tomorrow and say he's not interested.
Exactly.
Because all his people have said is, hey, we're waiting. We're playing it on game-by-game basis. Like, well, there's one left. So you want to find out what happens on Sunday. So I guess by Sunday night, I'll know.
Well, look, and I've told you this before, and I mean it. If this gets locked in on Sunday and it's game time, and you have a week to put this together, or 6 days, it's on the 6th. That's a Saturday, right?
It's on Saturday. That's
okay.
Right at noon.
Yeah, so you would have 6 days to put it together, and I just wanted to remind you, I will offer any advice, logistical planning information. I've done several events like this, so I'm more than willing to help you out if this damn thing becomes a reality. I wanted to ask you, too.
And I will take you up on that.
Yeah, please do.
Don't be surprised if you see my number come up in your phone.
I will drop what I'm doing. I'll mumble a few curse words, and then I will answer the phone and help start walking you through logistics. Don't worry about it. We had Zach Barris. We had Zach Barris on the program yesterday. He's been on for like 6 years, former NBA scout, lifelong Cleveland sports fan, and he told me that there are $9.99 swans, inflatable swans at Saks.com yesterday, the Johnny Manziel ones. Are there any materials you guys are coming up with? Are you encouraging people to make floats or costumes? Or what do you say to people that are going to come down for this. What are you hoping they do or don't do?
Oh yeah, so people, you don't even need to encourage Clevelanders to be creative. I'll tell you, that I've gotten some great ideas and some great things that are going to happen if this parade happens. Some of the things I was going through them today. Actually, it's funny enough. One of them is this guy's got headstones in his front yard. He does it every Halloween for all 27 and now 28 starting quarterbacks the Browns have had since they come back in '99. And what he wants to do, he's got 27 other people and him. They're all going to walk in the parade with all these headstones,
like a procession, a funeral procession.
We've got a Browns ambulance that's going to be out there. We're working on getting a hearse so that we can bury this season ceremonially at the end of this thing. We've got what else? Some things that are dog pound related that are going to be out there. Got a lot of the Browns backers clubs making little floats or really dressing up trucks with various ideas. So it doesn't take much to get Browns fans and Cleveland fans motivated to come up with creative ideas. And I've already seen some of them. I think people are going to be surprised, to be honest with you, because as I was going through it, I've got 40 or so legitimate slots taken up by people who are either in trucks, RVs, we have a bus, or some walkers that have signs and some sort of a theme to them. I mean, these people are going above and beyond to get into this parade. And I was kind of like you, where you go through the whole season and just loss after loss. And for me, I have this parade thing over my head, and I'm thinking, I'm going back to these folks that signed up to be participants. And I'm wondering if the passion is still going to be there. And boy, everybody I sent an email to today came back and they're like, oh yeah, in fact, we got another person who's coming, or we want to add this vehicle, or we want to do this. So people are passionate about this thing. I don't know if there's fatigue set in for a lot of people and not the people who are going to be in this parade. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, as it starts getting closer, I feel like more and more people in the Unhappy Hour group. By the way, type your questions if you're watching in the chat room over here, but a lot of people in the group, it's becoming a hot button issue. You know, like I said, a few people not understanding the protest angle, and it's like, no, it's a protest. Don't worry about it. We don't celebrate garbage. Right. We're calling attention to it. What was it like Mitch Hedberg said? You put in Carmex on a cold sore. It's not going to get rid of it, but it will make it shiny and more noticeable. There you go. That's perfect analogy right there. It's kind of what this thing is. But I don't know, Chris. Is this going to be part of your legacy?
Let me stop you real quick when you talk about the noticeable part, too. I don't know if this hit nationally, but it certainly made a whole lot of headlines around here. This was last week. They were asking Hugh Jackson about what was going on in Cincinnati and whether he would be interested in maybe taking over as coach for Marvin Lewis. And his quote was, he goes, "I'm not thinking about that right now. Me and everyone in this organization is just focused on stopping a parade right now."
That is so funny.
So he wouldn't even address anything else with another coaching vacancy. And he says that the whole organization is focused on a parade. These are millionaires who play the game professionally and who coach the game professionally. Said that they are focused not on winning for them or for their professional lives or anything like that, to stop a parade. So,
and I saw your response tweets.
Definitely caught.
Yeah, your response tweets were saying, see, we're providing motivation for the wonderful players of Cleveland. And it is the truth. Nobody wants to be a part of that. But if you go undefeated, what do you expect? ESPN is putting out the stories. Are the Browns the worst team in professional sports history? You know, and it shows a horrible hockey team and a horrible Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. You're like, oh my God, this is bad. But, you know, and here's where Zach Barris and I may differ a little bit. I kind of feel like this was Sashi Brown's plan all along, was to completely tank, stockpile for 2 or 3 years, and then relaunch in a way that analytics says, look, you're going to suck worse than teams have sucked, but we're going to rebound better than any team's rebounded. Do you agree with Zach and say, oh, garbage, they expected to be 7-9 at this point? Or are you kind of in my camp saying, this was their 5-year plan all along, they're following it through, this is the necessary bottom before it springloads back up? What do you think?
So I'll give you a little bit of a hedge answer. I think I'm in between you guys. I think that it was definitely in their heads to tank. And I think last year was the tank year. This year was supposed to be better, not 7 wins better. I never expected them to be anywhere near 500, but I thought that they would have 2 or 3 wins at this time, which wouldn't have been great, but that would have been enough to say, okay, if we've got a quarterback who looks like he's doing something, and maybe Hugh's making some good decisions on the field, maybe things are going in the right direction, so we feel good about things. Not to say that anybody's real happy about having 3 wins, but we're looking at 0 wins right now. So that's the glass half full part of it. So I do think tanking was a big part of it. You look at the number of draft picks, obviously, they've got for next year. They're also the youngest team in football. Of course, we have been for like 20 years, but nobody ever brings that up. We've got the most cap space of anybody in the league, so it's set up for us to come out of the gates hitting, but it was never supposed to bottom out like this, I don't think. And I hope that we've got the right people in positions to make decisions now. With Dorsey coming in, I still am so just upset at ownership of the Cleveland Browns that I do not think that Jimmy Haslam is the right guy as owner to make this thing happen. But who knows? If he brings in the right guy, if we're lucky enough with Dorsey, they start making the right calls, we may have a shot. But
I'll say to people too. I'll say to people as we wrap this up, Chris. And I'll hedge my bet when I kind of play devil's advocate, saying the plan was to tank this badly for this many years. Why draft a quarterback in the first round and give you 3 worthless wins when you try him in the second round and see if he pans out? Otherwise, you still tank a second year and you accumulate all the picks. I say that also recognizing that we signed Kenny Britt, a team cancer, a garbage football player, overpaid. So, once again, that it's hard to run away from some of these personnel decisions, and then some of the rest of it is just, you get injuries to Joe Thomas, finally getting Josh Gordon back, Corey Coleman being injured. I mean, you could go down the list. We do have some talented players on this team. I don't think we're as bad as 0-15, but in the famous words, who was that? Dennis Green? They are who we thought they were, and we let them get away. Well, we are who the record says we are. I think I'm combining Mike Ditka with Dennis Green there, but we are who our record says we are.
Dennis Green, you're mixing with Bill Parcells. I think Bill Parcells said we are what our record says we are. And they are who we thought they were as Dennis Green, the late Dennis Green.
Playoffs? Talk about playoffs. I just hope we win a game. Now, that's probably my favorite one from the Colts head coach, but yeah. Jim Mora, absolutely. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. I like the Allen Iverson playoffs versus Jim Mora
now,
playoffs
if you've never
practice.
done this before, you've got to listen to, there's a mashup out there of predominantly Jim Mora and Allen Iverson on YouTube that's really good. If you get a second at some point, you got to check that one out. It's unbelievable.
Playoffs in practice. We're talking about playoffs, man. Not a game. Talking about practice. Playoffs.
Whoever the DJ was, put in just a fantastic mix of those two.
Absolutely. Yeah, please check that out online. Tag us with it if you want. Okay, final thing. Hugh Jackson swimming. Is he going to be at the parade? Do you think he's going to bail out and do this in the summertime? He's pretty much already said he's doing it, right?
He already said he's doing it, but he said he's doing it on his own terms, which everybody says, oh, he's going to do it in the summer now. He's going to wuss out. But we'll see. His people haven't been in contact with the parade folks, my folks yet, but I've sent out several feelers to try and get him. I'd love to have him do that. I think that would be a great display. But and by great, I mean it'd be humiliating for all of us, but here we are as Browns fans right now.
I wonder, Chris, if we win the final game, let's say that happens, should there be a party to celebrate that win and avoiding this? Should there still be a party and a gathering? Or we haven't thought that far?
I'll tell you one thing. I will be partying if the Browns win. That's for sure. I will not be planning a parade at that point. And if anybody wants to have any kind of a party after that, or if there's any bars in Cleveland that wants to have a 1-15 party, go for it. I am not in charge of the logistics of it. I know I will be having my own personal party. There's no doubt about that, though.
Well, Chris, thanks for joining us. On our way out the door, one of the foundations you work with a little bit, Cover 2. I know it's not something that's being donated to from this parade, but if that's still something you're working with, would you want to kind of tell us about that if people wanted to get involved there? Because I know it's just impacting a lot of people I grew up with, people that from high school and back in Ohio. It's kind of ravaging through the great state. and I know you were working with that. Is that still something you're doing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for giving me a second here to talk about it. So my cousin died of a heroin overdose back a couple of years ago. And as a result, my uncle started this foundation. You can find it online at cover2.org. And basically what it does is it gives resources to families, to friends of people who are struggling with this addiction right now, and allows them to have, the things that he didn't have as a father, that we didn't have as a family, both about the addiction and what it really means, resources such as doctors, counselors, and he's got a lot of podcasts on there that really give you a lot of color around this epidemic, this problem, and really a lot of practical things of what you can do and where to get started if you're trying to help somebody that's battling this. So that's cover2.org, something I'm very passionate about. My family is certainly. We're not alone in the fact that our family's been touched by this with my cousin's death. And if anybody's out there struggling with it, I'd encourage you to go there, to reach out, and check out the resources that my uncle has produced on there.
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's just in my circle of friends and family and extended loved ones and friends of those people. It's an all too common story that people are battling. I mean, you've had the president earmarking different resources and funds and programs to kind of battle, and it's a new epidemic. You had the war on drugs in the 80s, which is kind of ridiculous in its own reason, but this war on opiates and heroin and what's happening across our country. It's harming a lot of people, and I like what you guys are doing. I'm sorry you had to go through it, but I do like the program. So yeah, please go check out cover2.org to find out more if you're battling this in your family with your loved ones and you need some resources as well. So, okay, the final thing is brownsparade.com. People can donate there. You're pretty much at the break-even point. Everything past, like you said, roughly that 8K mark. Once you break even, Machine Gun Kelly aside, that's all going to go to the Cleveland Food Bank, so that could all be a good thing. You guys can participate. brownsparade.com. And, of course, Reflog on Twitter. It's REFLOG_18 on Twitter. One of the funniest Twitter accounts you're ever going to find. Chris McNeil, thank you again for your time. I appreciate you joining us, and Lord willing, I might see you in person in a few days, brother.
Sounds good. I hope it doesn't come to that. Go Browns. Thanks for having me on.
Take care. You have a good one.